Last Tuesday I pulled into the driveway after work and noticed my gas gauge sitting just below a quarter tank. I had a long drive to my sister's place in Ridgemorn on Friday about 140 miles each way and I knew I needed to fill up before then. Normally I just stop at the Shell on 5th Avenue because it's on my way home, but my buddy Marco had told me the week before that he saved almost $8 on a fill-up just by spending 2 minutes on his phone. I figured I had nothing to lose. So I sat in my car in the driveway and typed gas near me into Google. The map popped up with little price tags floating over every station in a 5-mile radius. The Shell I always used was showing $3.89 for regular. I almost put the phone away right there out of habit. Then I actually looked at the other pins. There was a Circle K about 1.5 miles east of me showing $3.61. Same grade. I thought it had to be a mistake or an old price that hadn't updated, but the listing said the price was confirmed 40 minutes ago by another driver. 28 cents cheaper per gallon. My truck holds 22 gallons when it's bone dry, so on a full fill-up that's over $6 back in my pocket. For a 1.5 mile detour. I felt a little foolish for never doing this before. I drove to the Circle K the next morning before work. The price on the pump matched what my phone showed, which honestly surprised me because I half expected some kind of bait and switch. Filled the whole tank. Watched the total climb and kept thinking about how many times I'd been paying more just because I never checked. I paid, drove off, and that was that. No drama. But then Friday came. I left for Ridgemorn at 7 in the morning. About 60 miles out I noticed I was burning through gas faster than I expected because I'd been keeping up with highway traffic and running around 75 the whole way. I pulled off at a rest stop just to check where I stood and I realized I was going to need gas before I got to my sister's. So I did the same thing again, typed gas near me into Google while I was parked. Out there it was a different story. There were only 4 stations within 5 miles and they were all priced within 4 cents of each other. No big savings to find. I picked the closest one, a BP right off the exit, filled up halfway, and got back on the road. Sometimes the search doesn't find you a hidden deal. It just tells you what you're working with. When I got to my sister Dana's neighborhood I had a couple hours to kill before she got home from her shift at the hospital. I drove around a little, got a coffee, and at some point ended up on the opposite side of town from where I came in. When I finally left that evening I noticed gas was even more expensive near the highway on-ramp by her place, €3.97. I checked the app again and found a Costco about 2 miles off my route showing $3.55. I wasn't a Costco member but Dana was, so I called her, she drove over and swiped her card, and I filled up completely before heading home. That one saved me almost $9 compared to the station by the on-ramp. The drive back was easy. I made it home with a quarter tank left, same as when the week started. I told Marco about the Costco thing on Monday and he laughed and said that's exactly what he does when he visits his parents. They have a membership and he always times his fill-up for when he's near their house. He said some people go as far as tracking prices across the whole week to find the cheapest day to buy gas. I looked it up and apparently Tuesday and Wednesday mornings tend to have slightly lower prices in most cities because demand drops midweek before the weekend travel rush drives prices up again. I don't know if I'll go that deep into it. But I did start checking the app every time I fill up now. The thing that stuck with me most wasn't even the money, though $6 or $9 here and there adds up. It was that I had been defaulting to the same station for 3 years purely out of routine. Never once questioned whether it was the best option. The information was always there. Any driver who stopped at that Circle K in the past hour had already confirmed the price for me without knowing I existed. The whole system was working. I just wasn't using it. I mentioned this to my coworker Priya and she told me she uses GasBuddy instead of Google and swears the prices are more frequently updated. I downloaded it and compared them side by side a couple times. They were pretty close. But GasBuddy did have a few more price reports on smaller independent stations that Google didn't show. I use both now depending on which one loads faster. My next long drive is in about 3 weeks. I'm heading up to the lake with a few friends for a long weekend and we're taking my truck because it has the most cargo space. I already know gas up near the lake runs about 20 cents higher than in the city because there's less competition on those rural routes. So I'm planning to fill up completely the morning we leave and top off again before we hit the mountain roads. I'll check the map, find the last reasonably priced station before prices climb, and stop there. It's not a complicated system. It's just paying attention to something that was always worth paying attention to.